Okay, trivia time. Can you guess? Now, this is only they only started keeping this stat for presidential approval ratings for the 20th century. Can you guess which president had the highest approval rating during their term in office? JFK. 70%. 70%. Now, 70% approval rating. Now, there's been various presidents who have different fluctuations, and at times may have been higher and lower, but this is the average of their term in office. JFK was 70%. So that says that the president that the American people felt were doing the best during their term, still 30% of the people didn't approve. And that's the best it's been in the past 100 years. Because it's near impossible to get 100% approval. Right? People just don't work that way. Rarely will we do anything in life or make a major decision in life that everyone universally agrees with. Just generally doesn't happen. So why is that our setup for a rather kind of harsh and maybe a little prickly gospel today? Well, this gospel reading is not something that translates easy for us in our time, because we don't live in a time where the thought that you might stop talking to someone because they're not the same religion as you isn't something we really do in America. I think that's one of the beautiful things about America, that we don't think, okay, we're not the same religion, our friendship is over. But that's not how a lot of the world works. And that's definitely not how the world worked in Jesus' time. In Jesus' time, you were Jewish because your family was Jewish, because you had been Jewish for countless generations, because it was your birthright, because Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, was the father of your people. And if you were going to say that you followed Jesus as the Messiah, you were making a break with your family, you were making a break with your culture, you were making a break with your community. And not everyone was going to be okay with that. The approval rating was not going to be high. And that was a real live thing that people who were following Jesus back in his time had to decide. If I accept this person as the Messiah, if I follow him and listen to his teaching, am I okay if my grandmother doesn't talk to me anymore? Am I okay if my father doesn't speak to me anymore? And we think that sounds harsh, and we think that sounds stern and strict, but guess what? That was real life back then. And if you ever have heard stories or read stories about Muslims or people from the Middle East who convert to Christianity, in modern day, they face very similar types of things, where to leave their faith to accept Jesus means breaking with their family. So what Jesus is saying is not, oh, I love to cause division. But what Jesus is saying is, I'm going to bring you to a point of decision. You're going to make a decision in response to me, and then other people are going to make decisions in response to your decision, and there's no guarantee they're all going to approve. That's life. We know that in little things, right? We know that in life, we're never going to make everyone else happy. It's impossible. But what Jesus is saying is, here's the truth. When you make a decision to follow me, not everyone else is going to respond with support. Can you live with that? Now, we might think, man, I'm glad we don't live in those times. But the times we live in now are getting more and more familiar and more resembling those times than we think. We know a couple in our family, Sarah and I, who were married, and they were married, neither were Christian when they got married. The wife, after a series of years, decided she was going to become a Christian, wanted to become a Christian. The husband decided that he did not want to be married to a Christian, and they got divorced. Now, they did not get divorced because they came home and said, I'm going to follow Jesus now, and I can't be with you. But it was the response to the decision. Because this isn't the woman I married, which was true. This isn't the woman I married. The decision was, he left. That's crazy to think about. But Jesus brings us to a point of making a decision. If we're going to follow him, it's going to look a little different. Sometimes a lot different. And for people living in his time, it was going to look different. And not everyone was going to support it. And if we're following Jesus, it's going to look different, right? How we spend our money is going to look different, right? How we give our time is going to look different. How we view difficult people and the topics of forgiveness and reconciliation, hopefully, are going to look different. Because if we look like everyone else, we're not following Jesus. We're just following the crowd. And that is just a fruitless endeavor because we will never make everyone else happy. It's just constant chasing approval. But Jesus tells us, I'm going to bring you to a point of decision. When you make your decision, that's going to cause other decisions. And they might not always be supportive. So that's why it's important for the church that we support each other. Because ideally, we're here because we've made the same decision, that we're going to follow Jesus. And that sometimes we can't find that support out in our professional setting or our social setting or even our family setting sometimes, as sad as that is. So it is vital that as the body of Christ, we encourage and support each other. Because Jesus brings us to a decision point. We decide, and then others respond, and they decide. And it's not always supportive. So pray to God that we can be supportive of one another.